Welcome back to the Silly Little Girls Club, and on today's episode of the podcast, I have got the most incredible guest, founder of Sellier, Hanushka Toni. Hanushka is the female powerhouse behind the luxury reseller brand Sellier, redefining what that whole industry of reselling luxury goods looks like. Her story reads like a movie script, going from a Barrister to Birkins. Like, I'm not even joking. It's like incredible. I'm so excited for you to hear her story, and let's jump straight into it. Welcome to the Silly Little Girls Club. Oh my God, I can't believe that you agreed to come on here. I was like, so excited
to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. I'm such a huge fan of like Sellier and stuff. And then when I learned more about your story, I was like, people need to hear like Hanushka's story, because it's like, I feel like, and I was trying to describe it, it feels like it reads like a film, like a film plot, like Barristers to Birkins, like starting off in like the law world, and you was a solicitor, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's been a wild ride.
Oh my gosh. So how did you like get into like doing law and then going into Sellier?
So for law, I think I pretty much have my parents to blame for that. We moved to the UK when I was about 5, and they have this classic immigrant mentality of you got to go have a sensible job. So that was either banker, lawyer, or doctor.
Right.
I would have loved nothing more than to just study English literature and, I don't know, read poems all day, random. But that was an option. So I ended up in the city being a city lawyer. I qualified into private client tax law.
Oh, wow.
It is as boring as it sounds. Did that for a few years and then just realised it really was not
for
me.
you.
Yeah.
No. What was that moment where you're like, I can't do this anymore? Like, was it just something you just had enough, or?
I think I always knew I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And when you're not passionate about something, I just came to the realisation that I would always be kind of a mediocre lawyer at a really great firm.
Yeah.
And you want to be the best at what you do, and you want to be excited and kind of running into the office every morning. And I just did not have that feeling.
No, I think that's fair. And I think if you're brave enough to recognise that, that's like really something to shout about, because not many people do they? And like suffer through like a career that's not fulfilling.
Yeah, it's like, the worst thing I think you can do to yourself.
Gosh. So how did that then, what was the moment where you're like, I know what I need to do. I need to be surrounded by luxury brands and do all of this?
It wasn't actually as clear cut as that. So I left the law and I thought, well, what am I going to do now? So at the time, my husband and I, we moved to Monaco.
Okay.
And I spent about a month twiddling my thumbs, bored out of my mind. And then I was listening to Monte Carlo radio.
Yeah.
And this ad came on saying, if you want to work in a digital marketing company, give us a call, send in your application. I had no digital marketing experience. So I sent in my CV and said, look, I've got no idea about digital marketing, haven't done it before, but give me a job and I promise you I will work harder than anyone else in the room. So the owner of the agency gave me basically a chance. He gave me an interview.
Wow.
I mugged up before the interview, learned everything there was to know about digital, and ended up with a job in a luxury digital marketing agency where I spent 3 years, and I ended up doing luxury marketing for brands like Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Fraser Yachts, building websites and understanding all the really technical skills behind brand building. So I became their creative director after a few years, which was quite fun.
That's incredible.
I loved the job. Yeah. And then my mum tells me that she's opening a business. And Dina, my mum, has absolutely no business running a business. I mean, had never run a business before. And she kind of said, will you help me? And I thought, oh, so that's how we started.
So this was her idea to do
it was her idea.
Okay.
She gets all the credit. Wow. It wasn't my idea. But at the start, she wanted to open this small, fusty, dusty boutique of a shop in Knightsbridge. It was only ever meant to be a retail store and nothing else. And that's how we started. We didn't start as a big online business. We didn't start as a brand. It was just a shop, a small shop with no customers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Go Dina.
Yeah, go Dina.
That's amazing. What gave her the idea to do this then?
She loves luxury,
Yeah.
and she always wanted to do something in consignment. And I remember when we moved, so I'm originally from Azerbaijan,
Okay.
moved to the UK when we were 5, moved to Croydon.
Oh, nice. Bit of a
Lived-
difference.
Lived in a really rough part of Croydon,
Mhm.
but Dina would save up for months and then she'd go and buy one pair of like Dolce & Gabbana shoes
Oh.
or a Prada bag,
Yeah.
and she'd be swanning around the Whitgift Centre
Yeah.
with like her Dolce shoes and her Prada
Living her best
bag,
life.
just looking so out of place. So she's always absolutely loved luxury. This has been her dream forever.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And she just wanted to. So was the concept always to get into that pre-loved like resale market for her? Is that kind of
Yes,
what it
always
was?
pre-loved resale, buying cheap, selling high. That was the idea.
Wow, gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Because like luxury, like the resale of the luxury world hasn't really always been that powerhouse that it is now.
No,
Like it kind of
absolutely
always
not.
had a bit of a stigma maybe and a different
Mm.
thing. So like when she presented that to you, what were your initial thoughts? Like when she was like, this is what we're gonna do?
Well, at the time, it was a very, very different industry to
Mhm.
what it is now. It hadn't been widely accepted as a
Yeah.
thing. So I thought, if you want to do this, okay, but it's probably going to be quite a small business.
Mhm.
I don't know if we'll be able to scale it with just a physical store,
Yeah.
but let's just start and see how it goes.
Yeah, it seems quite
Yeah.
serendipitous that you'd got this digital marketing
Yeah.
job at the time, building websites and promoting brands. Because
Mm.
then were you like, oh, ping, 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 if this works, maybe we could do it online or...
Well, at that point, we weren't even going to be an online business.
Okay.
But then COVID hit and the store had to close.
Yeah.
And like everyone else, we were kind of looking at each other thinking, what are we going to
Yeah.
do? So pretty much overnight, my digital marketing experience came in handy.
Yeah, literally.
I built a website on Shopify, which
Yeah.
is the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I recommend it to absolutely anyone
Yeah,
who
it's
wants to
very
have an
good.
e-com business. I did the SEO and all the marketing myself, and we just started. But it's what you say back in the day. You can build an online business, but you also need to get the customers.
Yeah.
So we started thinking about influencer outreach
Mhm.
and how do we get people talking about us. And I just remember back then, it must have been 2020, having door after door just slammed
Oh,
in our
wow.
face. Just people saying, no, I don't do this. This resale isn't my thing. I remember one really huge influencer. I still remember she said to me, no, thanks. I don't do secondhand.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but
She
it's-
wasn't a sustainable
yeah,
queen then, is she?
And it's interesting because even the vernacular around resale has changed.
Yeah.
Everyone used to call it secondhand
Yeah.
or thrifting.
Yeah.
And now everyone just calls it resale.
Yeah.
And it's something that everyone does. And it's not this shameful, weird thing
No,
that you
it's
kind of do
not.
on your
It's
the
actually
side.
something like it's almost the other way round now, isn't it? And
Exactly,
if you're seen to be
absolutely,
doing
yeah.
that, it's, you know, it's commended now.
Mm.
Gosh, so that really fed into you for the right time, didn't it,
Yeah.
at that point? So during COVID then, you've gone from like your physical store to your online. Is that when you really started to see like a bigger growth behind the brand, or was it?
I always say in everything you do, but especially in our case,
Mm.
timing is absolutely everything. And as much as I'd like to take the credit and say, oh, I worked so hard and this and that, I could not have built the business that I built today.
Yeah.
Because back in COVID, we had this captive audience sitting at home and people just wanted to be entertained. They had nowhere to spend their money.
Yeah.
And in the early days, I had this teeny tiny Instagram account.
Yeah.
I think it had 1,000 followers. And I just started posting stories of
Ah.
myself in a closed shop,
Yeah.
taking things off the shelves, showing people Chanel bags,
Oh,
talking
wow.
about them. And crucially, it was never a hard sell. It wasn't buy this bag, it's £3,000.
Yeah.
It was, I've got this vintage Chanel bag
Yeah.
with real 24 karat gold plated hardware.
Wow.
And this is why I love it. And this is why you might love it too.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can buy it if you want.
Yeah.
So DM to purchase if you want it. And sales just exploded.
Wow.
And pretty much overnight, kind of in a 6 months,
Yeah.
the account started going viral. People
Wow.
were sending it to each other. They were saying, is this real? Is this a real thing? And our business just bloated. I mean, Dina couldn't
Gosh.
believe it.
Oh,
She was
bless
packing box
Dina.
after box after box.
She's like, what have we done?
Absolutely exhausted by the end of the day, saying, I can't do this anymore. I
Oh
can't
my
do this.
How did you
Yeah.
keep up with demand though, with sourcing like products? Because like, you know,
Well,
you're really reliant on
Yeah.
people having a surplus of luxury goods.
Well, it was really interesting because the account was blowing
Mhm.
up. We came up with a tagline, fastest finger first,
Yeah.
to explain how fast you had to be to DM us
Yeah.
and buy an item. And what happened is people saw how quickly we sold and thought, well, why am I selling on eBay when I
Yeah.
can just sell with this business and
Yeah.
sell the same day? So people were offering us stock, so much stock. It
Wow.
was literally raining Chanel handbags.
You've definitely heard of Redken, right? The brand that hairdressers swear by for amazing hair care and styling. Well, I've been a hairdresser for like 20 years now, and trust me, Redken has been a staple in my kit for years. Their products just work. They are powered by science, designed for pros, and there's literally a perfect match for every hair concern, whether your hair is feeling a bit dry, damaged, or it just needs that little bit of extra love. And if you've ever wondered how we get that next level glossy colour in my salons, it's Redken. It's our secret weapon. The shine it gives hair is unreal, and it actually leaves it feeling healthier, which is kind of magic. So if you're thinking about a little colour refresh, then ask your stylist about Redken. You won't regret it. Or you can find a salon near you at redken.co.uk. All right, now let's get back to what you're actually here for. I mean, could you think of anything better?
Insane.
That's literally the dream.
Best thing ever.
Oh my gosh. And so like so with your online presence and maybe having a physical store as well, like how did you really build and capitalize on that trust from people? Because it's so, you know, when some people, like you say, like Dina in the day was saving up for these bags, and maybe people like, how do you sort of create that trust element with like your customers to let you give you the stock to sell, and then also, you know, to have people buy from you, like, because they're still big purchases, right? Like pre-loved or like pre-sold.
100%.
Yeah, how do you do that?
So we're kind of in a business where we live and die by our reputation. So very early on, I thought, okay, I better put my face to this business. Just because I want people to know that there's someone standing behind it. And it's interesting because they say, well, founder-led businesses are more complicated to sell later on, and they're kind of just not as desirable to do. But I always thought, I don't really care about
You're
the
not in
end
an
game.
exit strategy.
I'm not in exit mode.
Yeah.
I just want people to trust me, to trust the business. So that was a really important thing. And then the other thing was to have real physical stores.
Yeah.
I mean, we're now 6 years on in the journey, and we have around just under 10 physical locations.
Wow.
So when people buy from us, they know that if, God forbid, anything goes wrong, they've got somewhere to come.
Yeah.
We're not just a random company in the ether online where you're texting an AI chatbot to try and get a refund.
Yeah.
There's literally somewhere you can come. You can see me in the store. You can see Dina. You can see my brother, who's since joined the business.
Oh, really?
So
I love that.
we're real people who really care about what we do.
Wow. Because I think, you collabed with Flannels, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
They've been insane. It's been amazing.
And does that really help expedite the brand and the awareness of it to be partnered with another brand like that? Well, obviously,
So I love that you can buy a Chanel bag in Glasgow or in Belfast, and the same for Hermès. I think that's amazing.
Well, I think especially for Hermès, because it's like, you know, it's literally an ongoing viral joke, isn't it? That you, even if you have the money for Hermès, you can't have a Hermès. So like, that is just wild. And I think I love the fact that you make it more accessible to everybody, and like kind of makes it more fun as well, with it being online and being more like, I'm guessing like Gen Z have really like honed in on this as well, because it's like a whole new thing.
Exactly. And it's so interesting because not everyone always wants to buy a bag online. So it's quite nice having a physical store where you can come, you can see what you're buying.
Yeah. And you can like, make sure like it suits you. And also I know it's one of those things, like, I feel like when you see something in person, it can really drive an impulse purchase, right? Like something online, you'd be a bit more considerate about, but when you see something, you pick it up and you're like, oh, I have to have it. I mean, it happens to me. I've seen walk through blooming Selfridges and I'm like leaving a trail of money behind me. I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. But it does really help, right?
Exactly. And especially with Resale and Hermès. So you might see a bag online and you're kind of, if you haven't heard of our brand before, if you don't know us, you might be kind of oohing and ahhing and wondering. Whereas if you come in, you can see the physical receipt that goes with the bag.
Yeah.
You can smell the bag. You can see that it's completely real. It's
Yeah.
just left the Hermès boutique and come
Wow.
to us
My
and you get
gosh.
to buy it.
That's literally wild, isn't
Yeah.
it? So do you like source stock and buy stock yourself, or do you rely on like people selling for people? How does that
So
sort of
we
work?
never source the stock ourselves.
Yeah.
It's always bought to us.
Wow.
So there are literally thousands of people out there who go to Hermès, they play the game, they buy all this stuff they don't need.
Yeah, to try and get to the bag.
So they can get the bag. We don't want to be buying crockery and I don't know, doggy carriers and things. But there are people out there who do.
Yeah.
And then they'll bring us the mini Kelly that they bought.
Yeah.
And they get a really nice uplift on it.
Wow.
And everyone's happy.
That's honestly, it's when when you think about it, it's so obvious. Like it's so simple, but like it's incredible the growth that it's had.
And there are people who do it professionally. I mean, there are people who've literally left their jobs in the city and instead buy maybe 5 Hermès bags a month and make a good 20, 30K a month.
Isn't that
just
wild?
Buying bags.
Honestly, I try and explain that bags are an investment to my other half, and they don't get it. They don't get it. Like literally don't get it. I'm just like, no, the return on this is so much more than whatever stock you think you need to buy. Like,
and it's so interesting. I remember, and I say this every year, around 4 years ago, we were selling Birkin bags at £12,000.
Right.
And my girlfriends were coming to me saying, oh, Hanushka, should I buy this? And I'd say, it's so expensive. Don't do it. Don't do it. I just think it's too, literally talking myself out of business. It's too expensive. Don't do it. Today, that same bag is trading at 25K, more than double. And the bags that they've bought from me for 12K, they've worn, they could now get 15K for in worn condition, and in brand new they'd get around 17.
That's insane.
So, insane.
I mean, when they talk about girl maths, I feel like
the girl math is
it's mathing, and it's mathing in a big way. Like, gosh. So ultimately, what people need to do is be buying those bags. So and enjoying them, and then being able to swap them out for something different. That's absolutely incredible. Like, I think with sort of this whole like luxury thing and like being a woman in business in this sphere, do you ever feel that you get quite underestimated in what you do because coming from that like law background and different things and then transitioning into this, have you ever experienced anything where it's been like, oh, she was a lawyer but now she sells bags? Like,
yeah, I mean, I remember one of my favorite meetings, and actually I'm so grateful for it, was early on, it must have been 2022. I met another CEO in fashion, and he sat back and went, oh, so it was one of his first questions that he asked me. He goes, so how big are you? And I remember being really green and naive and really happy that I'd built this business myself, no investors, no debt. And I went, oh, well, this year we've done this much, thinking he's going to go, hold on.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me bored and he went, you're small. And I don't really regard you as competition.
Oh.
And I looked at him and I thought, you're right. You are fucking right. And I could have taken that as, oh my God, he's been so mean to me. But instead, it really put this fire in my belly to do better.
Yeah.
And it's been 3 years since that meeting. I think at the time we were doing 9 million. And now we're well over double that. Again, without any external investment or fundraising. And I'm sure if you asked him today, he'd say, you're still small.
Yeah.
And he'd be right. But at the same time, I'd hope that he'd say, but you're quite a cool business.
Yeah, no, and that's not a small business. That's a rapid growth.
Like... So I'm really grateful, actually, for those moments where someone says to you, you can't do it, or maybe you're not doing as well as you could be.
Yeah.
Because I think you could take something as a reason to get upset, or you can take it as an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And I think if you're building a business, if you're an entrepreneur, always take the growth mindset, always.
Yeah, use it for fuel.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's nothing more powerful, I don't think, than being underestimated. And I always think
100%.
that when you talk to founders of businesses that have become like super successful, there's always been that like little things like that have really catalyzed like a growth.
And I remember after that meeting going home, I don't think I slept for 2 nights. I was just writing a strategy plan, 2 nights, just everything about what we needed to do, where we needed to go.
Wow.
I mean, it was intense, but
That is
again, so
mad.
grateful for it.
That is crazy. So when it comes to like your customers finding you, is that mostly like through social media, would you say, or do you still do influencer marketing, like the ones that, do secondhand? Because,
Oh, again, this is an unpopular opinion, but I think these days influencers just don't convert in the way that they used to.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe for more viral, lower price point
Yeah.
products, they might.
Yeah.
So say selling a Tangle teaser.
Yeah.
That. But for a Chanel and a Hermès bag, we've seen that the conversion is really different.
Right.
So
okay.
these days, most people find us just word of mouth, social media. I mean, TikTok is amazing in terms of virality.
Yeah.
Last year, we had 250 million views on our TikToks.
Wow.
So 250 million.
Oh,
that's the same
that's
as the
wild
Super
when you say it
Bowl.
like that, isn't it?
It's the same as the Super Bowl, which is the most televised event in the world.
Yeah.
All through silly little TikTok videos.
Oh, wow.
So I think it's everything. You have to think about everything. It's never just one thing. It's never just having a store or a good reputation. You have to really have your fingers in all those pies.
Yeah, like everything feeds into each other, doesn't it? And it's like, it's all those little things and the culmination of those that build this brand that people trust. And I know you said earlier about like, having a face-led business, but at some point, the business then and the name becomes so like known that it's a trusted brand in its own right.
And actually these days I kind of have stepped away from so much founder-led content because I want the business to speak for itself.
Yeah.
And it does, which is
I mean, that's incredible. Yeah, go you guys. It's like, it's such an incredible, unique business. And I think, for like women that want aspirational things, but also, going into these big stores is so daunting. Like, even when you've got the money to buy the bag, like
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't go into a Hermès.
No.
I cannot.
No.
I'd rather buy resale every single time than go through that experience. The stress, the wanting to be liked, knowing if you're not liked, you're not going to get a bag.
And being judged and
judged.
I'm with you.
It's painful.
It's too much sometimes and it's not good for your mental health.
No, it's not.
Like, and then, to have to wait to get someone else's validation, even though you are able to buy it, it's such an old school mentality. And I think, like you say, making it available is everything. Like, it's just it just makes so much sense. Like, I just think you're a genius. Dina, you're a genius as well, like, honestly. So obviously in an industry where, like, exclusivity is everything, and then you are still trying to make it accessible, how has that been a difficult thing, or have people just kind of flooded to you still because it's now accessible, or is there still that sort of element of like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, it should be exclusive? Do you ever get any like feedback like that?
I think the brands probably hate it, although they've obviously never reached out to us. But it's widely reported in the media, Chanel have sued What Comes Around Goes Around in America. And you always have that tension between brands and resellers.
Yeah.
And it does make sense because obviously the brand wants to control the primary market and then the secondary market kind of gets in its way.
Yeah.
But I think customers absolutely love it.
Yeah. Gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, I didn't think about it from a brand perspective. I always remember hearing, like, back in the day when you'd have Gucci sending Louis Vuitton bags to like celebrities that they didn't want seeing them wear them and stuff like that, and all that kind of sabotage marketing. And it's just like, God, I hope they keep in their own lane and like let people have the resale market, because it only feeds their brand, I think, because you see more women and more of the cool girls walking around with their vintage Fendi baguettes, and you're like, oh my God, and it just feeds into that brand when you've got people being able to access it.
And also I think for the big brands like Hermès, a lot of their popularity is actually derived from the fact that their bags trade double, if not triple, on resale. If they didn't have such a strong resale market, would people be going in there buying crockery and
no,
saddles?
Of course they wouldn't.
Absolutely
oh my God,
not.
I saw that on Instagram. Somebody had bought a horse saddle from Hermès,
and it's probably like 200k.
Yeah. If not more. Yeah, and I'm sure it's a great saddle if that's what you're into. But I'm like, I'd rather have a dual saddle bag. Like, honestly, it's so good. I feel like, with like obviously what you do, how difficult is it to part with bags that come in that you love? Is there any that you've like come in that you've coveted and you've had to part ways with?
Oh, it rarely happens. I'm quite bad.
Are you?
I always buy
Yeah.
everything that I love. It's
Why
a problem.
wouldn't
It's a
you?
problem. Yeah.
I think that's so good. Is there any sort of like real sentimental bag that's come into you that you've been like, oh my God, I've always wanted this, and you've been able to get it through resale?
So I remember, I think year 2 of doing the business, this lady reaches out to us. She lives on a farm in Yorkshire.
Okay.
And she has the biggest vintage Chanel collection that I've seen in my life. It's like someone has gone inside the Chanel archive and basically robbed them. But she hasn't. She's been building it up for years. And it's the most incredible pieces I have ever seen. So she found us on Instagram.
Yeah.
She sent us 600 vintage Chanel pieces, all in perfect condition. Most of them she'd never worn. She'd just been collecting for years, living on a farm in Yorkshire, collecting for years. And my brother said to me, you can only buy one bag.
Yeah.
Hanushka, that's it. Just buy one. So I bought this little peach-coloured 1990s Chanel Kelly bag. It's like a mini bag with gold hardware and the CC's stunning, and I still love that bag.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's amazing.
Gosh, do you come across stories like that quite often? Like where people are like basically secret Chanel hoarders?
Yeah. And you never know who your customer is, which is so funny, because I think I was quite naive when I started Sellier. I thought, it's only posh rich people who are going to have these things, but that hasn't been the case at all.
Wow. Gosh,
really
that just
nice,
shows
actually.
you, doesn't it? Like you can never judge somebody. Like, oh my God, imagine what the rest of her closet's like then, if that's just her like Chanel collection. What's she doing on this farm? She must be like the most glamorous farmer ever. That's you live your best life. I'm just seeing this like decadent woman in like fur roaming around like in wellies and a wine with all the Chanel. I mean, that'd just be the dream.
I literally couldn't believe it. It's still probably my best Sellier story to date.
Oh my gosh, that's literally unbelievable, but incredible. So I just don't want to miss any of our little talking points that I've got here, because like it is so incredible, your story. Like it's amazing. So I think looking at this, I want to make sure that I get all of these little cool questions, because like I think it's really important to talk about like, you know, seeing how women are reclaiming luxury for themselves. Like they're not then waiting for partners or men to gift them a bag. And it's like, do you see a lot of like women coming to get their like, you know, dream bag from you that they really want? And like that must be really empowering.
You know, we see both, and I genuinely love both kinds of customer. So just in the past month, 2 stories. We had one guy come in, really unassuming, really sweet, not dressed in any obvious logos. He asked to see 3 Hermès bags.
Okay.
Spent £65,000 on 2 Kellys and a Birkin for his girlfriend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Greg, are you listening? Literally.
Had a little Google. He's a doctor in San Francisco. Love that.
I mean, the American health system clearly pays better than the NHS.
And then not a week goes by, and we had a lady come in with her mum, about to go to the theatre. And she was an older lady. I'd say she was in her 60s. Her mum was in her 80s. And she asked to see, I think we showed her about 10 bags. She bought 4.
Oh, wow.
She spent 80k because she wanted to just spoil herself.
Oh my gosh.
And she was on the phone to her son saying, I don't know if I need 4 bags. And her son was like, yes, you do. You do it. You do it, Mum. You go for it. You deserve this. And I thought, how lovely.
That is so nice.
So it's nice to see a woman being treated by her partner,
but
it's just as nice to see a woman treating herself and not feeling guilty and saying, you know, YOLO, I need these 4 bags.
I need these 4 bags. Like literally, who doesn't need them?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm scared to ask how many bags you actually have. Like I can, but I suppose the guilt-free is like, we can just sell them on when you've had enough of them. But I bet you don't.
That's my excuse, never.
No, I love that. So looking back, like obviously growing these businesses, going from like, you know, the law world, because I'm guessing you was in the city not far from here, right? That's the bit like
Fetter Lane, so
was it
15 minutes away?
Oh wow, my gosh. So going from that to doing obviously your digital like business jobs and then Sellier, like what have you learned about being a woman in business specifically? Is there any sort of like lessons that you've been like, oh, I didn't realize that I'd need to learn that one? Or
I think this is probably an unpopular truth,
Mm.
but having kids, I've genuinely realized that you can't have it all. People say that you have to try and that maybe there's a middle ground, but that's really, really hard. So for me, it's been that realization that actually at some point you do make a choice. Are you more family and focused on that, or is it more business? So that's been quite hard. But again, Dina taught me that you shouldn't feel guilty about the choices you make as a woman. And I think there's a lot of guilt always associated with any choice we make. If we stay at home, we're made to feel guilty about not being some economic powerhouse and building businesses. If we're building businesses, we're made to feel guilty about not being at home with the kids. So I think one of the really important things I actually learned was to let go of that guilt and not to overthink stuff.
No, it's really important. I think I read this, I can't remember who it was from, but it said we can have it all, but just not at the same time. And I think that is something that's really true, isn't it? Like you can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time.
Exactly.
And like, I feel like that could be a lot of our downfall because we try and have it all, and then it's like, hello burnout, hello guilt, and it's just not working for anybody, is it, when you do that? So, and I suppose like when it is your business as well, it is quite difficult to like, when things crop up and like things that demand your attention, that's when it becomes increasingly difficult, isn't it, to keep that boundary?
Yeah, it's really hard.
How do you set your boundaries? You've definitely heard of Redken, right? The brand that hairdressers swear by for amazing hair care and styling. Well, I've been a hairdresser for like 20 years now, and trust me, Redken has been a staple in my kit for years. Their products just work. They are powered by science, designed for pros, and there's literally a perfect match for every hair concern, whether your hair is feeling a bit dry, damaged, or it just needs that little bit of extra love. And if you've ever wondered how we get that next level glossy colour in my salons, it's Redken. It's our secret weapon. The shine it gives hair is unreal, and it actually leaves it feeling healthier, which is kind of magic. So if you're thinking about a little colour refresh, then ask your stylist about Redken. You won't regret it. Or you can find a salon near you at redken.co.uk. All right, now let's get back to what you're actually here for.
Oh, I think it's a difficult question. I try and just make sure I give my kids quality time with me as opposed to just time. So when I'm at home, I put my phone away, I'm with them completely. But at the same time, I am, as a business owner, I am working realistically 7 days a week. There are no days off. So on a weekend, they might come into the store with me. They might help me with visual merchandising. So I'll teach Kingsley and Lana about how you put things out on the shop floor, how you talk to a customer. And even though they're 8 and 5, I think, why not have those skills? And why not
life
just
lessons.
Enjoy being in a different environment?
Oh my God, I love that. And imagine them with their little mini like little bags and things like that. Oh my God, if you've got 2 girls, you really, I suppose, got like a whole world of pain coming there with that sort of stuff. That's crazy. So I just wanted to touch on, because I think obviously I spoke to you briefly when you came in, because one of my podcast guests actually who was on before was like, oh my gosh, Hanushka's from Sellier's coming on. She was a big fan of the brand, but she was the one that told me, I didn't know that one of your stores was actually burgled.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was ransacked in the middle of the night in Belgravia. So 3 men on mopeds, they just pulled up. It must have been around 1 a.m. They broke the glass, took absolutely everything. And it was all within a few minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And the crazy thing is, the police were called. They'd left DNA everywhere. There was blood all over the place. And then not even 24 hours later, we saw the bags for sale on Snapchat.
What?
By this guy called Ricky in South London. So we contacted the police. We said, look, you've got the DNA. You've got the plate numbers. He's on Snapchat. He's selling the bags. Just go get them. We haven't heard anything since.
Stop it. Oh my God. Were you not tempted to go and try and buy the bags back?
Yeah, I wanted to play Sherlock Holmes, but
but it's not worth it, is it? Oh my God, that's crazy. How, like, probably, like, you don't have to answer, but I'm just wondering, like, how does that work then, like, for reclaiming things back for, like...
you have to go through this whole process of insurance, which obviously I'd never done before. So you've got a loss adjuster, a loss assessor. God knows how that works, but we're still waiting, so...
That's crazy. And like, have you managed to get the store open again and stuff like that?
Yeah, we opened it the next day. But for us, our number one priority, literally as soon as we knew it had happened, we called up every single customer who had stuff taken and said, we want you to know that you don't have to wait for the insurance to come
Yeah.
through. We're paying you today.
Oh,
Because that's
wow.
who we are as a
Yeah.
brand. We don't put money or financials over our customers. It's
Oh my
always our
gosh.
buyers and sellers who come first.
God, that's
So,
incredible that you was
so
able
we-
to do that.
yeah, we were lucky enough that our business is liquid enough that we could do that.
Yeah.
But just to think, if we were a smaller business, that would have sunk us.
My God, it's crazy that like people know to go for luxury goods now.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever? I'm sure you maybe have watched Sex in the City, or
Obviously. Yeah.
I can't remember if it's in the new series or anything, but there's a bit where Samantha has her bag taken, or one of it's either Samantha or Carrie, and she has a Birkin stolen, and she's saying like, oh God, they know how to get these now.
Yeah.
And it's like, not in the old days where you'd find your Birkin in the bush around the corner because they just want the wallet out of it. And it's like, oh my, it's crazy.
They know.
It's unbelievable.
But the crime in London with people snatching bags is out of control.
I know. Well, yeah, there's like viral moments, isn't there? It's how you carry your Hermès in London and it's inside like a little bag or something like that. And you're just like, oh my God, what is the world coming to? I guess you didn't really have to face that in Monaco so much at that time, but it's crazy. So, I mean, just to wrap it up really and know, like, what is next for Sellier? Like, what are your plans? Like, because are you global yet? Like, obviously online, but would you like to do physical stores or?
So we're a global business. We're in the UK, in Monaco, and I think the next few years it's basically expanding regionally and also internationally.
Yeah.
But I'm not really focused on any one number, on any one goal. I mean, I get to do this with my brother, with my mum, and lots of kind of people who feel like family because they've been working with us for so long. So we just really love doing it, to be honest.
Oh my God, it's so,
as long as we're loving it.
We'll keep going. It's what a lovely thing to meet new customers and all those lovely stories. Like, it's such a unique business. It's like so unique. You don't get those sort of stories from really any other business.
And it's really like a people business. So you just hear so many stories and that's amazing.
God, it is unbelievable. I think, what would you say to yourself when you were, working in Monaco and your mum came to you with this idea, knowing what you know now about the brand? What advice would you give to yourself back then?
Oh, I would have said just start it sooner and go harder earlier. Just go hard or go home, basically.
Oh my God, I love that. So wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you so much for being on the podcast. While I have you, it would really help me out if you could just hit follow or subscribe, depending on which platform you're getting your podcast from, and I can keep bringing you these amazing conversations with these incredible guests. And I will see you next week on the Silly Little Girls Club.